Yeah, so I was going to talk about how my outlook changed on the experience of having a music critic actually criticize your work. It's pretty interesting. And the last one I talked about when I was writing Triumph, which is the second song on the EP, but it's the first song that I wrote for the EP. And then after that, I started writing From the Abyss, so that came right after that. And I was using sites like Submit Hub and Groover. You basically submit one of your songs to influencers. So there's these people who apparently have some kind of following, some kind of influence, and then they listen to your music, and then they kind of decide whether or not they want to post it to a blog of theirs or post it on a playlist of theirs or something. You can kind of check something off in case you want them to also review it. So if you want them to give you feedback on your music, then you can do that. So like every time I did that, I checked that box off because I do want, feedback. I want people to tell me what they think about my songs, for better or for worse. And it's kind of freaky for me, and I'm assuming for a lot of other people, when we're doing stuff like that, it's like we're like, ah, shit, like what are they gonna say? I hope they don't completely like trash my song or whatever. So like some of the feedback was really good, and they had really nice things to say about my songs and all that, and that felt great. And then some of them, they put it on a playlist or whatever, and other ones not so much. So there was definitely some other ones where they did not like the song for the most part, and that can initially be kind of disheartening to hear, because it's like we all want everyone to love our music. It's like we would all love if everyone was just like, yeah, your music's perfect, it's great. That would be nice to hear, but it's not always the case. Everyone has different opinions and different outlooks, I had to say it. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at receiving feedback over the years. Like I'm pretty freaking good at it now, like constructive criticism, all that stuff. That's good. I appreciate that. But some of the feedback that I got from these sites, including Submit Hub and stuff, some of it's pretty freaking brutal. Like they can be really brutally honest, even to the point at times where I was thinking like, man, like could you have said that like just like a little bit nicer, just a little. Like there was like some parts where I was like, is he being like little condescending? Was that a little condescending sounding right there? But I will say that for the most part it was helpful. When we read something, when I read something, I can tell that they're being honest, even if I don't necessarily agree with what they're saying or like what they're saying or whatever. If I can tell that they're being honest, then it's like, it would be stupid if I were to be like, oh, well, he just doesn't get it or whatever. And that was basically my thought process. I was like, okay, so kind of sucks to hear, but maybe he's right. I don't know. It's like maybe he isn't right, but maybe he's right. And I would say that at the very least, he's being honest, and I have to respect that, There was at least one song where someone said it was too long, that's fine. It's like everyone has different preferences for that. And that was kind of the first thing that came to my mind, because I love long songs. I love, like, Dream Theater is my favorite band. I love long epic songs. Like, this person also said that he listens to this kind of music. So I was thinking, if he listens to this kind of music, then that probably means that he listens to long songs. So I was thinking to myself, like, maybe he was actually trying to articulate, or he didn't know how to articulate something that he was actually thinking or something like that. So I was thinking like, okay, so if it's a long song and he said that he was getting bored listening to it, like halfway through, starts like daydreaming. So I was like, okay, so what could that actually mean? Like, what could he have been trying to articulate but he didn't know how? Maybe that actually means that he would have liked if there were like more transitions in the song, or if there was more contrast to keep your attention, because like, Dream Theater, my favorite band, they're like masters at creating songs that are super long, but it retains your attention the whole time because of the way that they construct it. Maybe I can construct it differently, right? Just to kind of make it more interesting, more different things going on to hold your attention throughout. Not necessarily make it shorter. I mean, I could experiment with that too, but I was thinking like there's ways to compensate for that. Like maybe he didn't know how to say that or something. Or maybe he really just doesn't like long songs. I don't really know. It is interesting to kind of think about and get other people's perspective, and people who aren't biased, and people who in a way they just don't know you, so it's like they don't care. I don't want to sound bad, but like they don't really care about hurting your feelings, I guess, because they don't know you, which can be different from family and friends. They really care about you, hopefully. Most of them, for most of us, that's how it is. So it's like sometimes you're like, are they really being honest? Do they really not like it? So it's actually, in a way, kind of nice to be able to have this interaction with someone who really is not invested in you and is going to be completely honest with how they feel, because they don't even know you. Yeah, in other words, sometimes it's really nice when they have nice things to say. It's like, okay, and that can be maybe confirming or something like that. It's like, okay, so I'm doing this right, at least according to this guy. But at the same time, I also feel like we shouldn't there's like a balance. It's like I feel like we shouldn't take these people's words as scripture, but we should also take it into consideration. So anyway, long story short, I started writing From the Abyss, and when I started writing that song, I started taking into account these things that I've been sort of collecting from people's feedback on those two sites, which again, they're Submit Hub and Groover. That's actually one of the reasons why that song From the Abyss from Outlook, it has that crazy middle section, because I was like, all right, so I'm going to experiment with having something really different, like to kind of really mix up the song and kind of grab the person's attention, because when you get to that part, it's pretty obvious, like, this is fucking weird. Like, this is definitely, at least for me, I was like, this is pretty different. I was kind of angsty about it, because I was like, all right, man, you want different? I'll give you different. But I was also obviously doing it because I'm like, well, let's experiment. Let's see if he's onto something, people seem to generally like my songs, but sometimes you can kind of just tell. It's like this song got a better reaction than my typical song or something like that. So I kind of felt that way. So I was like, okay, so maybe that guy was onto something, And then after that, then I wrote Thought Stream, which is the last song on Outlook. When I wrote Thought Stream, that was kind of like the culmination of all of the feedback that I've received from these sites, good and bad. And I also just treated it like kind of like impromptu or improvisational, and that's why it's called Thought Stream, because I wrote it all just like, all right, this idea, and just kind of like connecting all of the ideas, almost like association, as I was writing the song. Like, all right, let's do this riff, and kind of in this like a different mindset, almost like an improvisational mindset, as opposed to a mindset of like, how can we construct this song, if that makes any sense. And also feeling kind of angsty about it, because I'm like, I'll give you something interesting or whatever. And I'll make this different, because that's another thing that someone said about one of the songs. He said that like it just didn't. It sounded. He didn't say it sounded bad, but this one guy said that he thought it sounded kind of like a lot of other things that he's heard, and that was kind of a bummer, to be honest. But it's like, it is what it is. That's how he feels. And so that was another thing that I kept in mind for a Thought Stream. I was just like, let's just freaking go all out, just coloring outside the lines for that song, Thought Stream. Like way more than my typical song. I wouldn't say that I usually try to color inside the lines. I just kind of write, you know. But this was, you know, just having the feedback kind of inspired me to approach it in a different way and have like a different kind of intention. And it's interesting because after I wrote the song, I feel like that actually got some of the best feedback in general from like people commenting and stuff. Probably that one and another song were like that have been the top 2 songs that people seem to really enjoy the most, which is pretty interesting and maybe telling. And so you could say that the feedback that I got was helpful, was beneficial, you know. And I gotta say that it might be my favorite on the CD too, to be honest. So anyway, that kind of changed my outlook on the experience of getting feedback. You know, you start with kind of this negative thing and it feels kind of disheartening, and then you go through it and you grow from it and you learn from it, and then you end up with this different perspective, and now I actually feel grateful. I feel really grateful for their honest feedback. And if you want to check out Outlook on Spotify, I'm going to put the link in the description for that. It's also everywhere else. It's also on my website. You can buy it there. And by the way, I just got a shirt. Got shirts for my new EP, Outlook. I just got merch for the first time ever. It's, you know, it's just the cover art of the EP. You know, the guitar says Outlook and my name at the bottom right there. And I'm gonna put the link in the description for my website so you can check it out if you wanted to you know, look into it. Also have coffee mugs, which are pretty cool looking, and I just ordered one for myself because it just looks freaking cool. If you're new here, I post new videos every Monday. And I also want to thank all my patrons on Patreon. You guys are freaking awesome, of course. And yeah, I appreciate your support a lot, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.